It's an old cat's eye, that is. That's the cast around, and there would have been a rubber bit here with two little marbles, and you know, the man in Yorkshire designer. That's a future TV video. But anyway, this is a cat's eye. What's on the old A685 road. The new road's just over there, but this is the old one. You can just see on that bridge there going over the Lune. That's the new A685. And this road here used to go across the railway, like an old stone bridge go across. Now this road's defunct because of the M6. When the M6 crashed through this valley, this bridge was obviously surplus to requirements, so they had to build a new one. But we've come here to find the legendary Dillicar Water Troughs on the West Coast Mainline. And but first, before we go and show you them, we're going to take you to someone called Ramsbottom.
My gum, I've never tasted note like that before.
It's Ramsbottom the snake!
Ramsbottom! My name's Ramsbottom.
Not that Ramsbottom, this Ramsbottom. Teleported 110 miles to Macclesfield Cemetery in Cheshire, and we've come here to see this great man, John Ramsbottom, born 1814, died 1897. Now this man, he's got a very quirky name, John Ramsbottom, but he's not just a nice quirky name. He's an engineer, he's an inventor, and his inventions catalysed the industrial revolution of this country. And if you really want to know even more, you know, he was the man who invented the water troughs, and even better than that, he invented the piston ring. Now let's go and see with more detail what he did. Come with me. John Ramsbottom, born 1814 in Todmorden. He was the son of a steam-powered cotton mill owner, so John, as a young lad, would be in the mills with his dad looking at big steam engines, and he'd probably look at big boilers and how it works. So from an early age, I think you can say he had steam in his blood. So his dad was a good influence on his lad, because he'd want him to grow up and have a good job. So he'd probably let him in and say, "Oh, look at this! Look at the engine what runs the mill, and it would run all the pulleys and the looms, you know." And it so from an early age, John had a good, you know, it was in his blood all the way to the core. You know, his core inside his body was steam, you know, influenced and inspired. So he started to work at Atlas workshops of Shap, Roberts and Company in Manchester, who built the stationary steam engines for the factories. So the influence from his kid went from looking at steam with his dad to actually working and making steam engines, you know, stationary engines for factories. So I bet his dad was proud, because he was making steam engines what his dad was sort of working in. But then John was he was like today's world. We have people what are geniuses on laptops and the world of tech. John was early in working with his hands and his brain together, making these things on either end of his arm work with his brain, so he could make wonders. So he was picked up, and someone said, "Hey, have you seen that young lad? You know, the Sharp, Roberts and Company have got working for him. You know, he's a bit of a genius." So it wasn't long before he became a locomotive superintendent of the Manchester and Birmingham Railway, and later the London and North Western Railway. During his career, he invented marvellous things. And how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wonderful inventions he's made. So it wasn't just one, he wasn't just a one-hit wonder, he did 5 things. And one of them we still use today in the 21st century in something we couldn't live without. But maybe in another 30 years it might be totally extinct with what the current climate are trying to do to what this thing is, what we'll soon learn in a minute. So one of the first things he invented was the Ramsbottom safety valve, and then he did the I like this one. He did a displacement lubricator. That sounds good. That does. I like that. A displacement lubricator. And then he did this is I think Fred Dibner couldn't live without this one. Was a duplex steam hammer. Sounds even better, that does. And then, this is what we couldn't live without today in 2021. John Ramsbottom. You wouldn't have thought this the white grave we looked at in Macclesfield, not very grand, and it's just hidden away. He designed the piston ring. You see, every combustion engine has the piston ring. So he's a good lad, John. His knowledge. He's probably, even at a young age, he probably thought of that in his head before he even put it to paper and, you know, designed it and then showed it to the men with money to say, look, this is what you need. And then what we're talking about today, in today's video, what T's gone on a bit of an adventure to see, is he designed the water troughs.
2 further trains are seen picking up water on the journey north to Carlisle.
And then so, the water troughs, what's the main topic today, is I'm going to tell you actually what they do and why they came about. So steam engines use lots of water, more than they can carry on a long journey. In 1860, the London and North Western Railway wanted to speed up the Irish mail train between Chester and Holyhead, so it would complete the journey in 2 hours and 5 minutes. To do this without increasing the speed could only be done if a stop for water was eliminated. Ramsbottom first looked at making a bigger tender for the engine, but this was not possible as it would have been too big and too heavy. So instead, he put troughs filled with water between the lines at a place called Mochda. It's in Wales. It's probably said in a bit of a Welsh bit of slang there, but T is a Cumbrian, and that's Mochda in his head. And a scoop on the locomotive tender that would scoop the water up using the force created by the forward movement of the train. Wow, that was fascinating, wasn't it? The story of John Ramsbottom and how he designed the water trough and many other of his inventions. But you know, we need to get back and look a bit more in detail where the Dillicar troughs existed and where they were, you know, within the tracks. So let's get back up north. Come on. We've teleported back up north to Dillicar to find the legendary troughs. Now I believe down there, on that very straight bit of track and very flat bit of track, is the mystery troughs are lying in the undergrowth down in the Lune, what's down there. And we're going to go and try and find it. Me, TE, it's going to take you there, so you don't have to, you know, you can sit there at home and watch TE, your favourite showbiz celebrity on YouTube. Anyway, enough of that. We were getting sidetracked here. So we're going to go down there, so that flat bit of track there. Now, that's probably not even a handful of straight, flat bit of track on this line, you know, and something that long, you know, it's very far, you know, very few exist on this line, you know, a lot of it's going up, you know, going up. So the troughs are believed to be on that flat bit there, and they had to be quite long, so that's quite a long bit of track. So I think I think that's where it is. But what's important about where it's positioned on this line is where it falls on the line in respect of, up there is Shap, you know, going up to Shap and up to the Shap summit, and T-Bay's just there behind camera. Now if you went through there and you put your scoop down and you sucked a load of water up into your tanks in your tender. So as you see on screen here, we've got a picture of a steam engine, but more importantly, it's what's inside the tender. Now it's a very simple drawing, so you can really see what's happening rather than it all being coloured in paint. So it has all the normal stuff like tender door for the coal and the coal space and the foot plate and the drawbar and the injector. Then it shows you all the brakes at the bottom. But what we want to look at is where the water space is, and that, more importantly, the water pickup scoop. Now you can see there it just sits lower than the wheels and the axles, and the water would obviously go along that, be in middle of the lines, and it'd go up that scoop and go straight up. Now I was reading that for a steam engine to pick up water it would have to be over 15 miles an hour, and I think the rough average speed was about 50-60 miles per hour for it to really go up that scoop and then into the tender. And then as you can see, as it goes up that scoop, there's something called a pickup dome, and that's pretty much disperses the water down into the tank. You know, it doesn't sort of like overflow like you know, when your plug's blocked in the sink and it's sort of bubbling over the top. It hits that dome and then goes back down into the water space, and it probably can do it at quite a lot of speed, you know, per litre or what, you know. So, and then there's you can see a pickup standpipe, and then the water tank actually has its air vent for pressure in the tank, and then it actually has water filler, so when you're at a station you can fill it up. You'd think, right, if the rails are dry, and it was a nice day like today, the rails are dry, I've picked up enough water, you know, I've got a full head of steam, you know, and I talk to me firemen and say, right, can we do it? And they get ready, you know, in steam days there'd be a fireman driver and there'd probably be another guy there, and they'd be in the cab and like, should we go for it, or should we stop at T-Bay and whistle and get a banker, you know, and someone up the rear to give them that shove up Shap incline. But if it was a good day and they had a thing, they would run at it like a military precision exercise mission. They would get up it and then over it. But if they on the other hand, if they went through that trough, didn't pick anything up, if the train in front of them picked up and it drained it and they couldn't get enough water in, or it was iced over, or no, it might have not been heated that day and it iced over, or whatever reason, they will have to stop at T-Bay engine shed, get uncouple from train, go into the shed, fill up, and then get back on train, couple on train, and then go up Shap. You know, you don't think now in today's world that a guy on there with an overhead train, you know, Penolino, a new class 88, something like electric loco, you fly up there, time he's got through there, he's just thinking about the next signal, what's coming ahead, he's always looking ahead, but he's not, those men in those steam engines, the fireman, the driver, you know, they thought about everything. Everything had to be right to get an engine with a big train up an incline. No, it's not as easy as today. You don't realise how easy new trains can do stuff. Even modern diesels can do well. You know, they can get up big in gradients, like the Licky incline. Some new engines can get up there with no fuss at all. But back in the day, it'd be a lot different ball game. This is the same ball game. Back then, it would be, you know, you'd really have to work hard to and think. You know, you've got to think on top of your game. When you're on top of your game, you know, you know you've made it, but you've got to have that initial thinking, like, oh, can we get enough water, enough, is the steam right, is the rails right, or can we get up it? So that's Dillicar Troughs for you, and we're going to go and see if the legend still exists, and sort of, you know, discover that history, what's lost, you know, it's forgotten in this modern world we live in, where no one thinks of the past. And now me, TE here, is bringing you that lost history, you know, to your very screen, on your phone, your TV, you know, and so you can sit there and go, wow, I never knew that existed. And you see, that makes me happy. TE's happy, you're happy, you know, what else can I say? So let's go and have an explore. Oh, I forgot about something, hold on. It wasn't just steam what picked up at Dillicar Troughs, it was diesels as well. Now you're thinking, oh, what's he on about diesels picking up at Troughs? Well, early diesels, say, a prime example of this is a Class 40, a Whistler, you know, would pick up water here. Now what are you thinking, well, why does it pick up water? I'm going to tell you. It picks up water because early Class 40s had steam heat boilers in them and they needed the water. So, and also a lot of firemen came over and worked on Class 40s for this boiler, and it what did the steam heat. So a Class 40 would pick up there, and you know, it needed, and obviously then it went on to electric heating or whatever, you know. But originally diesels did pick up water there, but not for their engines, so to speak, but for their own little steam engine what does the heating. Anyway, come on, let's go. You can just or another one, come in. You can just, yeah. You can just hear the new road there behind me going across the West Coast Mainline, and then it goes across the M6, and then it goes up that valley up there to Kendal. So on my right here is the new A685 road here. They have to divert it because of the M6 mostly. Oh, and there's a bit of a casualty come off it here. I think it's looks like a Peugeot 106 or maybe a 206 front bumper there. And down there looks very promising, I think. I think This looks fairly flat, this bit here. I couldn't really see it because we were walking uphill before, but we've had a bit of a bird's eye view here. And not bird's eye view of the fist fingers, no, a bird's eye view of tea. So this looks flat. Now we've got to go, obviously we've got to go down. Now, once you go up, you've always got to come down. So anyway, we've got to go down there and really see if it is where the troughs, Dillicar troughs were. And see what else there is there to discover and know it's definitely there. But this is looking flat, and the cutting, you can't see it because of those trees behind me here. But when I've been looking at old photos, there's a little road over there, and there is a little road, and the lay of the land and the fells looks very familiar. So I think we're close. And obviously the Lune's here, and the Lune Gorge. It looks all the land's like, you know, it's revealing to us its secret past, what it used to be. It's coming to us, but we've got to go a bit further and see if it is a genuine article. Before you got up to a water trough, or near the water troughs, as I was saying, there was normally a big sign with a big zigzag on, what sort of was like would tell you that the water troughs were there, or you were coming up, and the fireman would see that, because the fireman does quite a lot of work on the engine. It's not just, you know, the driver drives it and he's got a big task, but the fireman does a lot of the manual work. So he'd see that, and if they needed water, he'd go straight for his big handle and he'd wind it round and he'd drop the scoop. But you're probably thinking, well, if he dropped it, he'd be picking. He puts it down too early. He'd be smashing sleepers or the ballast, and it'd be spraying up everywhere. But no, it was I think John would have thought of that, and what he did before he even got to the troughs, the track dipped down. So when he put his scoop down, it wouldn't be hitting ballast. It was ready in the position low enough, so when it got to the water, it would scoop it up and it'd go up into tender. And then as he came out the troughs, it sort of gradually raised back up again, and so he could wind it back up. But if he didn't need water, he wouldn't need to do that, and he could just fly through it, and it was all tickety-boo. But yeah, the fireman would it'd be his job for putting the scoop down. So the next picture I've got here, or diagram I should say, is what the troughs actually look like on the bed of the track, and how they sort of work. So you got two lines there, and the rail and the water trough, and you can see that the water troughs sit on like little legs along the top of the sleepers. They look quite weird, really. They're like a big centipede sitting on top of the tracks. And then it shows you the pipes, the water from tank, and I think that means it's an 8-inch pipe, and then there's underneath that there's a 9-inch pipe, and I think that's the overflow pipe. So pretty much the water would come from a tank, and I think it'd be gravity fed down into the troughs, into the water troughs. Now, so the water to come down from the tank into the troughs, but it'd be like a bath. You know, when you fill a bath up, and if it had nothing for it to stop it overflowing, you'd flood your bathroom. This sort of works in the same way. So when the water would run into the troughs, it needs somewhere to keep escaping so it wouldn't overfill the troughs. So they had something called the overflow, and overflow pans. And so the water would go into the trough, but then it'd have like another pipe, it would be constantly taking the water out. But this is a TE theory, because I don't know if this was true or not, but I think it always had a constant flow of water going through it, almost like a little stream. So the new water would be going into it, but it'd be always coming out all the time. And obviously when a train went over, and if it did pick up, it'd be completely empty, and then it would just fill back up, and then when it gets up to its right level, it'd just go back over its overflow, and it'd be another stream again. So I think that's how it worked. And then as we'll see in today, is we'll look at how the overflow pans went down the side of the embankment into the River Lune. Oh dear, come to a bit of a bit of an obstacle, I think. It's we've gone from this nice lush grass to a bit of a barbed wire fence, and then a boulder, a bit of a bomb site of boulders. Oh dear. Deary, deary me. And we'll have to watch me and the cameraman don't fall down into Lune there. It'd be pretty disastrous, and then we won't be able to get this video out to you, but we'll push on and survive, and you know. Whoa, something down there. I think there's something hiding down there. Wow, so from what I've looked on me, I've got an Ian Allen book, what tells you about the gradients of all the lines in steam days. And looking on that and studying online and a few other information from people and people we've talked to, where the Dillicar Troughs were. Now, the first thing I should say, Dillicar is that way. The troughs are more near T-Bay. You know, T-Bay is only up there, it's not far. You can actually see from a bit further away, you can see the loop at T-Bay. What on 2021 there's a loop. Now, so yeah, it's near T-Bay, so Dillicar's down there. Well, the troughs had to be in a flat area. They had to be on a flat bit of line. And they also, from what we've researched, it was near the River Lune. Where the River Lune came and they went parallel together like that, that's where the troughs were. Now, this looks pretty straight. Now, this is pretty, and the railway's only there behind camera. It's pretty straight. I think this, and I've looked on a few old maps, and it looks like it's here. I've scrambled this far, but we're going to scramble a bit more. I'm going to probably sit on my bum a bit and get down there. But I think this is the genuine location of TE, you know, yours truly, TE. And I think I've seen something over there. Let's go and have a look. I think I've just spied something with my little eye. I spy with my little eye. Something beginning with P, or is it T? But who knows? Let's go and have a look. There's two big, great wrought iron, like big gutters over there, or are they pans, or are they troughs? But I don't think they are. I think what they generally are. I've come round to the other side. I've been in my folder and got a few pictures out. And on the other side there's even more troughs or overflows. I'm still sort of thinking about are they the real deal, or are they the just the overflow pans. And I've got this picture here with a Duchess on, what's on the midday Scot, with a full train there, about 8 coaches. And it's a classic, a very, very clear and very sort of classic Dillicar view of what was up that banking over there across from me, you know, the troughs, the water troughs. And it's picking up water there, and you can see what splash down train or it's tender. And on that particular image, you can have a good close eye at what the troughs look like. And they're very, very long, but every I don't know, every 12 inches along there, there's a little strand what goes down, what's holding the troughs in the rails, or between, on the sleepers, you know, in between. And what's also interesting is, if you really look at the troughs even more close and you zoom in, at the on this one here, I'll show you if you come with me. On this one, the lip flares outwards, goes outwards. You can't really see because they're all upside down, isn't, you know, it flares outwards. And the ones on this here, they're not flared outwards, they're flared inwards. They like, hold on. And rather than that, they like that. And obviously these highly suggest that these are not the Dillicar troughs. These very much look like what the troughs would have been, what came down off the line into the Lune.
The troughs were laid on about a mile of level track, though they were only about 500 yards long. Water was kept at a constant 4 or 5 inches, and the overflow is seen going into the River Lune. During winter it would be particularly hazardous walking the track near the troughs, due to the build-up of ice from the spillage. The average fill for a locomotive was 2,000 to 3,000 gallons.
Now before, when we were over there, we were sort of umming and ahhing, or when we were walking down, we were umming and ahhing if it was really the troughs, because we forgot about this image we had in our folder, what actually shows it's a clearer image of what the troughs did, you know, with an engine picking it up. So I think that concludes that these are not the troughs, these are the overflow pans. And I think a lot of them have gone missing, because there's 4 there, and there's some longer ones there, and there's this big long one, and there's that one. And I don't think they're long enough for that bank. I think since these were in over 50 years ago, we've had a lot of storms. Like one of the biggest was Storm Desmond in 2015, and I think these have been washed, and there's probably since the 60s there's been a hell of a lot of weather and storms on here. I reckon half of it's gone that way towards Lancaster. They could be even in the sea, you know, they could have gone that far and into the sea, or someone down there has dragged them out and scrapped them, you know, they could be there. So in this book here by Ivo Peters, The Farewell to Northwest Steam, there's got some very interesting photos of Dillicar troughs, water troughs I should say, and more importantly what we're looking at today with the pans, it actually has on the cover of the book, it has a picture of Dillicar water troughs. And we walked down this field here, down there, and I didn't realise, because there's no other photos other than this one I've seen. Here is the pans that go from the rails up here down this banking and actually drop out in the field here with these sheep. And then a bit further down there in the bushes, you probably can't see, there's another set of pans. They're probably quite a lot longer than this set here. But it does explain that when I was saying that there doesn't seem to be enough pans in the River Lune, well, this explains to me that they were very short. Maybe that one was a bit longer, but this one was very, very short from the railway down into this field. Because there doesn't seem to be enough here to be overflows from that banking. That banking seems too tall. I might be wrong, there might be enough here, but I would have thought for the amount of troughs, they had troughs on each side, you know, from southbound and northbound going up. They had 2 troughs either side, they would have needed a lot of overflows to come off. Unless it came down a little channel or a little culvert, you know, it dropped down on the rails then came out through a hole through there, or it came down these pans, you know, there doesn't seem to be enough in my head, looking at it visually. So yeah, that's a bit more, it's interesting, that photo, how you can really see. And also, you know, there's those little, every 12 inches, there's those little stakes holding it up, and there's no markings on there where there would be any. You know, it looks like there's the rivets holding them on, but even that, if there was rivets holding them on, would they have rivets on them, because they need to be watertight, you know, to hold all the water. So they maybe just little brackets just to hold them, you know. These are sort of the weight of them sat them in, and the weight of the water holding them down. So no, there's not even any sign of that. And there's also, you can see they are very similarly made on the troughs on the actual line. Do have these rivets here, what the sections joined up. Because these are about 12 foot long a piece, and then they're joined together with this rivet section here. And you can see on the original that it has rivet sections on it there, these. So they are very similar, but they're not very similar. It's a bit of what's the term where you're so close but you're so far. These are so close to being Dillicar Troughs, but they're so far from actually being Dillicar Troughs. With the flange and the lip, you know, it's all different. We have to thank you, a very special thank you to 53A models of Hull collection, and all the photos were from the late Anthony MS, is it Downborough? There's something else down here. They've used them as some kind of barriers down here, sort of stop all the debris coming down. Or they've even used another support there. Wow, they've recycled here. You know, they don't use big concrete. They've used something what's been here years and years when steam worked this line. But these. So I'm in St James's Church in T-Bay, and it has a whole railway exhibition on at the moment with everything T-Bay railway related, because actually St James's Church is made like railway buildings. It's very interesting, but that'll be a future TE video. Well, they've got this screen with lots of different photos all around T-Bay, and this is very interesting, of a Clawton steam engine with some very sort of early 1900 coaches on, and it's going through Dillicar Troughs. What's interesting about this picture of Dillicar Troughs is the actual troughs. Now, here to me they look almost like a pyramid with the top cut off with water in, but on this side with the Clawton going across it picking up water, the pans look very similar to the pans what go down into banking, down the banking off the railway in later years. But in early years, the pans look like they could have been used as troughs. And then when they updated the water troughs, they could have used the originals as the pans. Because look, they've got that flare along them, where the later troughs haven't got that flare. They were sort of like that rather than like that. And they look very similar, but on this side they don't. This side looks like a pyramid to me, but that side is interesting. Let's climb over here and bash his way through a bit of undergrowth and see if we can get to those bigger ones down there and see what else we can discover with me, TE. Bit more down there. Wow, look at this one. This this is actually rusted through. Look, you can see my hand. Bigger boo. You know, it's had a bit of acid rain and lots of storms hitting it, and probably it's been smashed through rocks and stuff. But yeah, look, it's, you know, it's, you won't thought, but these big heavy pans these are, and they're rusting, they're actually falling apart. Well, we'll do a bit of science with TE here. Nice orange ball, matches the coat, and you know, the aid of science, gravity. TE. Right, well, we've made it down to this. Oh, watch it! It's a bit. Watch me cameraman there, and they've crushed me cameraman. These were a bit wobbly. These are because they've. Obviously, I think the river's shifted them here. They've not been placed here, so they're a bit. Ooh, don't want that falling on you. Crush you, that would. You know, you'd die. You know, it won't be very good. That. So watch that. So anyway, we managed to get down banking and get these bigger bits. Now these are the biggest bits I've seen all the way from walking up there. Yeah, I think even bigger than the ones across the river. You know, see, these are 20 foot long. These are, and I think that's the same as well. What goes into the river. Now these are genuine artifacts here, and they're very well preserved. You know, they're still very. They're not gone rusty in the middle. They're still really good. I don't, probably because the water doesn't get up here as much on them. But they can't believe TE here has actually found the overflow pans that come down off the bed into the Lune. You do research, you know, TE, and you go up and you get your books. And you've always known that someone's always told you that, hey TE, did you know about Dillicar? And now I do know about Dillicar, because we found you, we brought you. I've come here so you don't have to. You know, I found them. And these hopefully should last here a few more years, but eventually I think either they'll get broke up for scrap, but to be honest, you'd have to have a bit of lifting gear to get these out of here because they're heavy. So they probably just last till Mother Earth destroys them and they turn into rust in another 50, 100 years. So it's nice to know they're still here and we've found the pans. Now, they should say they're not the troughs, these. Please do beware, these are not the troughs, these are the overflow pans. The troughs are long gone, they disappeared because obviously they ripped them up on the railway. Oh, and there's I think that was a Penolino, sounds like a Penolino. Just going across there, going up to T-Bay. So yeah, we'll try and get back up the banking now without falling off the rocks. But I've brought you to something very historic here, and should be what's the word I'm thinking of here? Documented, you know, documented for future generations that these are here and they're still here and they're gonna be here for a lot longer. So they're good. And it's quite dangerous, so don't, if you come down here, watch this because it's a bit loose and you don't want that falling on you. So yeah, and we'll push on, I think. Oh, look at that, TE's drone. Oh, I was just watching today's video. I was just impressed with TE's got a drone now, and it's quite an exciting stuff. I was just, it made this video, you know, it made it totally unique. Well, unique to my videos anyway. I've not been in the air, you know, it's a totally new view on stuff. But I'd like to say a big thank you in this video to a number of people. One of them is B&R Videos for letting us get one of their DVDs with a bit of Dillicar footage on, what we could study and research when we were doing all research for it, you know, because it's a big task finding Dillicar Water Troughs, you know, they're a bit of a hard one to find, but till you find it, then it all comes apparent. And then there's another one, I have mentioned a few in video, what you'll see on the screen and stuff, and I ordered a bit of paper up at one bit, and you'll see who I was mentioning. But also I'd like to thank you to John Whiteley, who's let me use a class 40 a class 40 photo I should say, and his Flickr page will be below, like everyone else's, like the other guy's Flickr page and being our video. All their links will be below this video in the bio, so you'll be able to see that. And I think I should do an ending before this video ends up being like an hour long 60-minute special, because at the moment we're on a good time. But I'll just put this down here. You can see some behind the scenes there. It's T's masterpiece there. So if you've enjoyed today's video, make sure you give us a big fat like and a comment. Get your comments down below. And if anyone's pals of Mel Foley, make sure you get onto the phone to him and say T's mentioned him again, so you can have a good chat. And remember to, I think, subscribe. Give me a subscribe, like always. And there's a Patreon link below if you want to support TE and doing videos like this. And make sure to click that big bell. Ding!